All right, here we go. All right, welcome guys back for another episode of Project Creation, and today we are talking about ships. Ships. Yeah, so do you guys know a lot about the ship combat or the ship systems or anything like that?
I knew that they were like that's not something that it's like really in yet, and so like I
Yeah.
assumed there wasn't that much information, so I kind of just decided when that information starts coming out, I'll pay more attention to it.
Yeah. What about you, Thog?
Man, no. To be honest, I'm kind of not really worried about ships too much. You know, we're dwarves, man.
Could
The way
you
we
say
got
that?
things going.
I know. You guys are landlocked. I'm like,
Like,
I know, but dude, ships are such like a cool fucking commodity to the game just up front, you know. But we'll get into what's going to be happening with them. But
you know what would be cool is if we had like a dwarven steamship or something. I might be interested in that.
yeah, they'll have racial types of ships and skins and all that you can kind of overlay and whatnot. A naval system is pretty unusual in an MMO. What are you guys' thoughts on Intrepid implementing ships within AOC?
I think it's like a whole different part of a game that really isn't exploited. And I know they did it with another game, but
Yeah,
I
I
never
think
played
it
that
was
other game.
Lineage. No, I don't know. What was the other game? Maybe Arcade? I think
Arcade and Darkfall both had
Ship Combat.
as part of their game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never played those games, so I have no idea whenever it comes to ship combat or how that works or mechanics or anything. So,
Right.
You know, we've mentioned a whole bunch of times. I'm a long time Star Wars: The Old Republic player,
Mm-hmm.
and when that game initially launched, it had like a really on rails shooter style ship combat thing that you would just literally fly through the same exact motion every single time, and you were just trying to like shoot the turrets off of capital ships everywhere. It was terrible.
Right.
And then later on, they made a big deal. It was a lot of hype. They were releasing Galactic Starfighters, what they called it, and it was a competitive ship to ship combat. You queue and all that stuff, and I was excited because everybody was excited about that. And then it was completely disconnected from the rest of the game.
Yeah.
You didn't get any currency, you didn't get any experience, you didn't get any gear. It was all a separate module of the game that had nothing to do with the other. And I was like, what's the point in this? And then a whole bunch of times I thought to myself, like, how would you even fix that? Right. And I've never been able to come up with a good answer for that. So I'm really excited to see what their solution to that specific problem is, because they have so many good solutions to so many other classic MMO problems. Right. I'm excited to see what they do to fix that problem.
Yeah, I mean, even like, because between Star Wars and like actual water, like the whole way you navigate and drive a ship is completely different from an aircraft or a spaceship, So, I mean, like when you're dealing with 0G, it's like, you don't really have the element limitations like water does, and tide and all that stuff that goes into it. But yeah, I'm excited. Like, I thought, like, when I first heard about ships, my interest just peaked right there, just because I was just so happy because I've never seen it. I've never played an MMO that has ships. I've played like games and stuff that has naval combat and ship combat. That's pretty cool, but it's never been integrated on the level that the naval system is going to be implementing, So
you're right.
Yeah, it's unusual, but I think it's going to fit Ash's lore and theme of the game, and I really think it's going to transform it. But so with ships will have classifications. Ships are divided into classes of vessel type, which relate to their size and capabilities in battle and in transportation. So you're going to have ships starting from small sizes. It's roughly the 1 to 3 man crew. It's usually based for solo content. So you're going to probably be seeing majority of that, you know, just players going to this place or fighting this place, maybe an island, you know, just kind of navigating with that. Next comes medium ships, which is more like the frigate type, middle of the road type of ship. That's kind of, you get from your natural like seafaring adventures and stuff. This is more encompassing group content, that what you're going to be able to use the ship with. It fits like a group size, so party of 8. And then the last one is large, and that's the galleon ships, the big raid ships, you know.
Right.
And that offers 40-man raid size. So
okay.
But based on the classifications and use, what other ships would you like to see Intrepid implement? Like, because this whole system with the small, medium, and large, that's just basic, you know. I have a feeling that they're gonna really like take this and run with it, man. And you're gonna get all different variant types of ships with all different variant types of motives and kitted, and you can design it to the way you want. So, but yeah, what's your guys' thoughts?
Sounds like Atlas a little bit.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit like Atlas. I didn't play Atlas. Was it any good?
Oh yeah, Atlas is fantastic. I tangent, I guess, but
hey man, that's what this whole podcast is about, tangents, right?
They made a mistake when they made Atlas, because when I say that Atlas is Ark with ships instead of dinosaurs, I mean it's literally Ark. It's the same game. It's made by the same company. It's your character even immediately as soon as you wake up looks at his wrist and scratches his wrist, even though that little gem thing from Ark isn't there, because it's not the same storyline. Like, it's the same game.
Oh, that's funny though. That's like a pun.
Yes,
yeah, that's good.
So but what the mistake is, that if I'm playing a game about piracy and ships and stuff, I don't want to be running around an island taming dinosaurs.
Right.
Or animals. I want to be out on the sea, and so fighting, they realized this mistake, and so they've spent all of 2021 so far essentially correcting that mistake, and they've been making more and more advances to get people off the islands and out onto the sea. But aside from that, the game is awesome. You build a ship and you say, I want a galleon size ship, and it comes up there and it's just completely blank, and you can put cannons where you want, you can put walls and stairs, and people make all these elaborate builds and stuff. It's awesome. I don't expect that in Ashes, because that would be a little over the top, but
well, I think you might be pleasantly surprised, man.
No, well, and maybe I will be. I don't know if it'll be quite to that level of customization, but still, it's a pretty cool idea. I will say, as far as the answer to the question of what I want to see, I'm curious if they're going to have ramming ships, because that was a real thing. That was a real.
That's a big tactic in ship battle.
So, yes, and there were ships that were designed for that.
Right. I could see a lot of dwarven ships have like some badass rams to it.
Definitely.
You know?
Yeah. I think what I really want to see, though, with that battering ram system, is a man of war dwarven ship with a huge battering ram on the front of it. Just you stay on sea forever.
I could even see it being like a statue of like a dwarven, of who's the dwarven king again? I can't remember his name. But anyways, like, he's on the front of it, you know, and he's the one that's Gimli. Gimli. Yeah, he's the one that fucking batter rams the side of your ships and stuff. That'd be so sick, dude. Yeah,
that would be. And I really hope, and maybe you guys can answer this for me, because I haven't looked as heavily into it as I should have, but I'm hoping that I guess Warcraft did this to some extent. I want the dwarves to have technology. Like, I want the dwarf ship to be a paddle boat ship that has the big wheels on the side, you know,
right.
Propelling it that way. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, like the old what's it called? Like the mill, you know, the big thing turning. Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah. So that's what I want to see.
There's not going to be automated boats that, like in normal MMOs, that kind of just take you from one continent to the other. That's much like World of Warcraft and EQ and all that stuff. The ferrying really is dependent on the player base and your guilds and the types of ships you're going to use. Summoning ships, ships excluding naval caravans, can only be summoned from a port or harbor. Ships may be able to be summoned in rivers or in other bodies of water, depending on the depth of the water. So you can summon ships in rivers and stuff, depending if the water's deep enough.
So like a mouth of a river kind of.
Mouth of the river, yeah. I mean, like even if there's rivers that are kind of more prominent and wider and deeper, just in vastness within the game.
Mississippi.
Like the Mississippi, dude. You can cruise your little battle cruiser down there, you know, and get to where you needed to go. But I think this also like offers a big avenue with getting trade to the kind of the landlocked nodes that are maybe by the river, you know, that they can carry and ferry up goods and services to bring to that node to really make it a trading hub or whatever the node is classified as, you know. So I do like that element.
You know, it comes with that too.
What?
Pirates.
And that, dude, honestly, because there's a lot of pirate guilds out there, and I'm really interested to see how that whole dynamic of guild play is going to work within the game. Because when you look at the map, like majority of it's all the waters on the outside or within the channels or whatever it is, you know. So you don't really get too much rivers and stuff. But I'm definitely going to say though that there's going to be rivers and that are large and small that you can kind of navigate through. Go ahead.
Are we going to get like Viking style ships, the real flat bottom ships that can like travel up rivers? That's what they did. That's what they were made for.
Yeah.
Longboats. Yeah.
Dude, that'd be sweet.
I think they call them long ships.
Yeah, that'd be really cool, honestly. But yeah, maybe there's no telling what style that they're going to be going for.
Are any of the races have a kind of a Viking theme to it, or is that not? I'm trying to think of one. There is one.
Which one?
The Dunir are kind of heavily.
Off of Norse. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so if any of them will probably have like the big Vikingness, it'll probably be dwarves. A dwarven fashion, you know, that's not going to be It's not going to be serpent heads at the top and whatnot.
It might just be
even though it might just be big hammers and big beards, dude. You never know.
Right.
So we'll get into shipbuilding. Shipbuilding is a crafting profession that is able to construct ship components based on blueprints that unlock capabilities that scale with the progression within the shipbuilding profession. These are things like movement, durability, speed, turn rate, which is a big important thing, especially with PvP combat. Hit points, defensive and damage abilities. You got weapon slots, aesthetic customization, and ship components can be sold to other players.
There's going to be a market for blueprints, I tell you.
Yeah, dude. I think there's going to be a market for everything. Like just being a shipbuilder, you know, you're going to it's its own crafting profession. You know, you're unlocking a whole component to the game that further unlocks that makes the whole naval system like fun, you know, like being able to change your boat up, kind of like what you're saying with a blank slate. Hopefully it is a blank slate, but it'll probably just be more like tweaks and attachments and skins and different stuff like that.
You could start with a blank slate and have pre-built attachments. You know, I want a what do they call the steering wheel on those things? A stand for that and a cannon battery here. And,
I don't even know.
You know, whatever, you know, stuff like that. Because what I was talking about with Atlas was it's the building like Ark, where you build one wall at a time and put in the stairs. That's how the level of customization that Atlas had.
Right.
Versus, I think that you're just going to have just generic, like I said, a battery of cannons for this spot here, and you can choose your almost like a Call of Duty loadout.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like attachments, you know, you just change it all, and then you add what you want and take off what you want, and maybe you're even capped at like 5 or 10 different things you can put on the boat. So you really have to make a toolkit out of it, you know. So each ship is geared to what the purpose is.
Maybe it's a cap by weight, depending on what kind of ship it is.
That'd be cool too. That it determines it based on weight. That'd be different. I don't think I've ever seen something like that, so that's pretty cool.
Just an idea.
Yeah, that'd be honestly be pretty cool. A player does not need to be a shipbuilder to construct ships. Players utilize the ship components that are crafted by the shipbuilders to upgrade their ships. Anyone with the right schematics, materials, or an advanced enough node may construct a ship. Ships may also be crafted or upgraded in harbor crafting stations that are unlocked by advancement of coastal nodes. Players can choose which joints get populated with their utility or weaponry spots on the ship. So that I think the joints are like the anchoring point where you can put like the cannons and whatnot. And every ship obviously has its own different joints and stuff like that. So
the number of joints,
area or location of joints. So it's going to get pretty interesting on how like the strategic element and the firepower element you're going to be able to add to the ship. But it's all done through a crafting system that is relying on the player base. Again, like circling back to crafting PvP and PvE content all intertwining, and this is where you get this heavily, you know. But there's a strong depth to shipbuilding in AOC. What's your guys' thoughts on this? Do you guys plan to become a shipbuilder?
I
no? What?
No.
You guys don't want to build ships? Dude, that's what I want to play this game, really? What turns you guys off about ships then?
Nothing.
Oh, you just don't want to do it? You're just not a shipbuilder?
Like you're only going to have so many points to put into being it. And like, I mean, I can tell you right now, if I'm going to play in crafting, it's going to be blacksmithing, weaponsmithing, armor smithing, that sort of thing.
Right.
That's more my interest level.
Right. I get that.
That's all.
I think the idea of building ships is cool. I'm not a water guy. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to sit there and I'm going to do animal husbandry. Like, I'm going to be figuring out what the breeding system's about, you know, what kind of benefits you get from that. So that's what I'm going for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, though. But I like it even more, though, the fact that you don't have to be a shipbuilder to build ships, though. You know, you only have to be a shipbuilder to customize the ship, pretty much, you know, and add the varying types of weaponry and different things. But I'd like that element because it doesn't restrict the player base on choosing one crafting style in order to, you know, make the game better or make the world go round, you know? So I really love the fact that they're allowing that. And a lot of my guild plans to build ships, so it's going to be really fun. We even have a dude that wants to be like the Floki of the shipbuilder. So I was like, hell yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. But
I just feel like there's going to be so many materials that you're going to have to gather to get the ship going off. You're like,
right.
Yep.
Yeah, in terms of like metal and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're really smart and they're really intending on forcing cooperation between the players and competition between the players, like there are going to be parts that the shipbuilder needs to make the ship that a blacksmith is going to have to create, or a tailor, like the sails. The sails is a perfect example. Right. You should have to get the sails from a tailor.
Yeah.
There should not be some kind of way where the shipbuilder can make his own sails. That doesn't make sense.
Well, so, it might even be so, dude. Honestly, it didn't specify in which part of the ship is divided by who, you know, or is made up by who gets to build it. But primarily, I think that will all come within like the shipbuilder part. So we'll have to see on it. But I definitely like the premise, the way that they're dividing up the different. Portioning out the different types of crafting, you know, and their use within the shipbuilding and stuff. So we'll get into naval caravans next. Naval caravans are capable of transitioning from land to sea, which you guys probably know. So if you start out as a land-based caravan, you move to the coast and you want to move into the water, there's going to be a little transition period there. It's going to be a little construction kind of a site. It's kind of like transforming into your water caravan type. It's going to be probably in the matter of, you know, a minute or 2 minutes. There's a little bit of vulnerability in that regard. So like as you guys are transitioning, that's like a point where you're going to have to defend your naval caravan. And I like that though. I think that's a cool system.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think the entire caravan system is just incredible. Like,
yeah. On point.
Yeah. It's got so much to it. And I'm sitting here thinking there's going to be guilds that get built for or become famous for or whatever. And like, they are like caravan defense specialists. If you know that cargo has to reach that location, you go and hire that guild, because those guys will make sure that it gets there. And by the same token, there's going to be caravan attack specialists and like,
and
man,
sabotaging and all that.
Yes.
But like,
So,
I think it might differ a lot, just because like from land to sea is like two totally different playing fields. You know, you're fighting PvP on land. You know, you're fine, but on sea you're fighting with ships, and you're using a vessel in order to, you know, do damage to what you need. You know, in order to get the goods. But yeah, it is. It is. It's like it's a whole different system that's going to be. I think honestly, the separation between an actual like just a regular caravan and a naval caravan of people running those naval caravans, I think those guilds will be specialized for that. Like you won't get people, maybe you will, that can run the naval caravan and the caravan on land, you know? Maybe you will, maybe you won't.
If you're going to be a caravan specialist, you'd have to do that.
Well, you would, you know? Yeah, you would. Honestly, and if you wanted to make money, and especially if you wanted to do one that's like to a node across the freaking server, you know, then in the payout and the quest is just like monumental if you complete it. So yeah, maybe you will get that famous spark, you know, but we'll have to see. But that'd be cool. Honestly, I could see people getting famous off caravan runs and stuff, and epic battles that kind of ensue around it and on the way and stuff.
Stuff like that just makes me smile. I get so excited about Ashes in general whenever we start talking about stuff like this.
I know, dude. It's so cool.
Especially if someone like streams it or gets video of it, being able to live through that's great.
I know. Yeah, the Alpha 1's coming up, and I'm pretty excited next week, right?
I will be streaming.
It will be this week when we post the video. Yeah.
Yep. So Friday the 14th, I will be streaming, and I'm going to be streaming like 16 hours a day for the whole week. So,
yeah, dude,
come check it out.
Yeah, dude. I'll link his info in the bio at the bottom, guys, for after the show, so you guys can check him out. So any other thoughts on how Naval Caravans is going to impact the world of Vera?
Impact it? God, that's crazy.
It's going to be night and day. It really is.
You think so?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because you're going to have guilds, especially like my guild. Yeah, we're going to be known as being land dwellers. Like, it's obvious. We might have some people who go out and do some waterway stuff, but you have specialized guilds. I can't wait to see real big or real strong specialized guilds going against each other.
Yeah, I know. And a part of it too, you got to be there in real time to see it, you know, like, you know, you got to just be that onlooker from a merchant ship traveling by, and you just see these galleons going after it, you know, and they're all on the way or outside of a raid boss that they're all trying to eventually kill and take over to get the loot, or to get the achievements or whatever, you know. But I love how that stuff is going to just happen organically. And I think that the Naval Caravans will impact that hard. So we'll go into harbors next. So for coastal nodes, there are hooks out to points of interest, or POIs, that take control of harbors. Harbors have a significant amount of influence over the waters, and this is where I feel that you're going to need a harbor in order to be a dominant player on the seas. That's their Harbors will grant quests that are related to naval content, and harbors will provide a number of services, including upgrades to ships. So I'm guessing that's where like the main part of the shipbuilder, where you actually attach things to the ship, is all through the harbor. You know, you like lift up your boat kind of in a, you know, like in a cinematic way, it kind of lifts up, and then you get it's like a bench, and then you can go ahead and customize it from there. But it's interesting because they're not on freehold. So that's like the only crafting system that's not going to be on a freehold, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, but it doesn't make a lot of sense for it to be on a freehold.
No, it can't. It needs to have its own place for sure. You know, if it wants to be that prominent. But as harbors kind of act as the hub for players to help quest, build, and discover, what does this mean for the game?
Coastal cities are going to be a big commodity for guilds to want to be involved in. And I feel like that if you're not a coastal city, you're going to have a hard time, but you're going to have to find something either as a guild or as just a group in general to really make you stand out, because it seems like, you know, with waterways, with the travel it's going to have, everything that the coastal cities are going to offer in the harbor, it's going to be hard for you not to be in a city that, or a metropolis or anything that's not there on the waterway.
I think that if you plan on participating in some certain things that require being on the water, then being on a coastal city will be important. But I'm not sure that that's going to matter so much for a lot of people, like just as an example, and I'm just trying to look at this as a perspective of just a singular player, not like a whole guild or whatever. Right. So one of the things I mentioned in one of my last YouTube videos was that we have to give a lot of consideration to what node type you want to be in based on what type of player you want to be. And I gave the example of an artisan player. Let's say a blacksmith or a tailor, just a normal artisan. And what you're making is armor and weapons. That's what you make, right? And so being in a scientific node means like you get access to more recipes and more materials that somebody, an artisan who's not in a scientific node doesn't have access to. So your snap judgment is, you should be in a scientific node. But then I started thinking about it and I'm like, but in a military node where it's all focused on PvP and the corruption system and people actually fighting each other and therefore losing their gear, you might have like an unlimited supply of customers in a military node. So you might be smarter to be a crafter in a military node. And so every individual player is going to have their own little thing. Like if I want to be a blacksmith and I find there's two nodes that have, that are a good distance between each other. And this node allows me to get all the materials I want. And then I can run caravans over there. And it's not expensive to run those caravans because it's not a long distance. And I can just supply that military node over there nonstop. And they're always buying it. Why do I need to see? I'm making money and all that stuff right here. So while I do think that if your plan is like global, if you're thinking I want to dominate everything, then yes, being on a coastal node is going to be important. But your everyday player, I don't know. You might play this game for 5 years and never get on a boat.
Yeah,
world domination.
You might not, dude. Honestly, but I look at it as like this. So, like, say you did have like a merchant coastal node, and that becomes a metropolis. So that now is a harbor, and that's especially depending on where it's actually located on the map, that city could just thrive even more because it adds that more element. It has everything of a regular node, but it now has the capabilities of going on water and transporting by water, so it can get there faster and it can get there.
Right.
So I think that there's a lot of perks to having that element of a harbor because, like, without it, I feel like you're missing out on a huge component of the game and another avenue to move your goods and to trade your goods and to make money if that's your whole mentality. You have like a lot of options there, and I feel like if you don't participate in it, you're kind of just wasting it.
Right.
The user interface will allow emblems, logos, and symbols to be designed in-game. Guild emblems such as flags, sails, shields, cloaks, and armor attachments that can all be applied to your ship. Emblem editor functionally is tentative and planned for Alpha 2. So we'll see in Alpha 2 on how they're going to work it out with emblems.
Right.
Next, we'll get into the Mariner classes. Which I love this system. I'm just going to say that off the bat. I think it just adds that other whole element to being on ship and being a crewman and all that you can do because you're not just sitting idle, like you're going to actually have a role and a responsibility to play. And it's all your choice. So you can really... depending on what you want to do, you can really choose. Mariner classes, also referred to as boatsmanship classes, which I've never heard that before. Boatsman skills or seamanship contain different skill trees arranged in a similar manner to artisan classes. As a player gains experience in these different skills, they become more adept at using them. And these classes are gunnery, piloting, navigation, boat repair, ship components, defensive skills, and utility-based skills. And Jeffrey Bard goes on to say, you can spec into and kind of create your own class based on what the things you're doing on the boat. It's going to be very similar to the structure of the artisan ship trees. So you'll have your mariner class, you'll have different trees within that class. So it's kind of like a augmentation system, or the secondary, almost like a third class system, you know?
Mm-hmm. That sounds really simultaneously really cool and concerning, because obviously, that's awesome having gunnery and piloting skills and all that stuff. And so everybody's focusing and everybody has a role on a ship, because so many of these games where you pilot a ship, it's like the only person who's really doing anything is the captain,
is the driver.
Is the driver. But if I had to sit on a cannon and I'm just waiting for the pilot of the ship to line me up with the something to shoot, kind of like Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves has that going on a little bit, but hopefully on a much bigger scale. That's awesome. It's a little bit concerning, because when you start talking about a whole third like class or whatever, it further makes me think about the whole idea of it being a separate game, a completely separate module that has nothing to do with the ground game, which obviously it's not going to have nothing to do with it, because that's how we're going to be transporting goods across the world and stuff. So, but that's a little bit concerning.
Well, I just look at it as the actual, like, because your class and your primary and secondary classes aren't really going to matter on ship when you're shooting weapons at them. You're going to need to do something. It gives you something to do outside of your class. I can see where you see the separation there, but I just think it's its own world, like you go on ship, that's primarily what you guys will probably end up doing a lot, but I like the fact that the different classes have skill trees that like this gunner can be different from this gunner, that gives you perks to this cannon versus this cannon. He can shoot fire out of this one, and this dude can shoot ice or something like that, Right. And I just love that further dynamic, and it's really up to the freedom of your choice and the way you want to level it, and what you want to do too. Like you can literally do any job. It's all on what you want to do. But I don't know. I thought the Mariner system was just such a cool element, and I feel like people can really get lost in that. Like how you said, like you can play the game for 4 years and never jump on a boat. I think you could play the game for 4 years and not get off the boats. That's all. Not leave the whole ship mentality.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And I think that's where you get the elite, is the dudes that just stay on the water all the time.
Yes, no doubt. I'm already in my head picturing, you guys may not know about this, and my knowledge on this is extremely limited, but apparently there is a Star Trek VR bridge game where
I heard about this. Yeah.
Like you have like 9 people, and one guy's like the ops guy, and one guy's the communications officer, and you have a navigator and a captain or whatever. And like you're communicating with each other, and like you're literally simulating bridge life in Star Trek. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really cool. But now we're talking about it's kind of the same thing on a ship. Like you could have it where this guy's our pilot. He's our best pilot. He pilots the ship at all the time. These 5 guys have incredible reaction speed, and they're great gunners. And so that's the gunner we're trying to line up a broadside with those 5 guys all the time. That's what we're trying to do. And this person here is, extremely, what's the word? Thorough or whatever. So like they're great at repair. So we send them down and they're doing, and you could have like a ship that works like a real ship, like a real pirate ship or whatever.
Like a well-oiled machine, man.
Like a well-oiled machine. And you could have guilds that's all they do.
Yep.
And even better would be like you have an admiral who's in control of a fleet of 5 or 6 ships, and they all have a captain and gunners, and down the list or whatever. And you can have a guild.
Dude, that's next level, dude. That's some fucking next level shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm spitballing, but that's
you can really though. Cool. Dude. Like the possibilities are freaking endless with it, And I love that, like you said though, like each boat and each crew is going to be different. It's going to have its own quirks and flavors and
it's like raid
perks.
Teams.
It's like raid teams, yeah, exactly. And you gotta what?
Speaking of, if they don't have a on water raid, it's a huge missed opportunity. I just want to point that
they
out.
do a lot of there is,
Okay.
and they're underwater too.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So, but that's a whole different episode. All that stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll get into a little bit of ship navigation. The prevailing thought among the developers is that ship navigation may be through the use of a spyglass that gives direction and skims the horizon, as opposed to a radar navigation. What do you guys think about that? Like, you guys would be looking through a spyglass trying. I think that's a lot like Atlas for sure. Right? Don't you look through like a spyglass with Atlas and all that?
No, that's more like Sea of Thieves.
Oh, Sea of Thieves. That's what I meant. Yeah. Like you need to
Atlas
look at the horizon and then look at your navigation or your whatever it is, your compass down at the bottom of the ship or wherever it is, you know?
Yep. That's another thing that I was thinking of whenever I was going on my little spiel a second ago about the gunners and the repair guys and the pilot and stuff. One of the things that I thought of, but I just kind of left off, was your navigator, or sometimes it was a lieutenant that did it, but like somebody who, because it's going to be hard to be steering the ship and picking the direction and getting your coordinates and heading that. You need somebody who's doing the other job and relaying that to the guy and giving him a heading and stuff. And so like,
that's up in the crow's nest looking down and stuff.
Well, maybe
in there with
could
the
be
sexton.
In the what I was thinking is with the sexton and what do they call it? A dioptra is one thing, and the map and all of that. That's kind of what I'm thinking is.
The guy plotting points and shit.
A navigator,
right? The
and
actual
he may
map.
have to get information relayed down to him from the guy on the crow's nest, so that he can have the information to make the next choice. And then he tells the helmsman, make your heading, 260 degrees or whatever, and then you head off in that direction.
Dude, that makes me so freaking happy, dude. I would love that. Oh man,
gotta learn some nautical terms, man.
I know you do.
I just want to tell this. This reminded me of this. It would have been when I was 10, 11 years old, maybe. There was an old regular Nintendo game, like not the Super Nintendo, the old regular Nintendo.
Right.
And they've done a couple of versions. There was another version on Super Nintendo. There's a PC version you can still play, and it's just called Pirates. Sid Meier's Pirates. And you float around and you have a ship and you shoot at each other and you can take over towns and whatever. And the more recent versions have in-game maps and all that. But back in the original Nintendo, the only map was the physical fold-out map. And so we actually had the game set up and we used this splitter device, and we sent the video of the game to two different TVs, and one person was sitting there with the controller and the other person was watching the screen and seeing the exact same thing that the guy with the controller saw, but he had the map. And so we actually created a little navigator role or whatever when I was like 11 years old.
Dude, that's awesome. That's so cool. I would love to see the map just being the map, a rollout map that you got to look at, land and sea. I think that'd be hilarious.
I'm actually playing a game right now that does that. You do not get an updated map. You just gotta fit. There's a static map, but you just gotta figure it out from there. And it's pretty interesting. And you can definitely pick out the people who have directional or navigational skills. Playing a game like
that would even be cool. Like they made it so like that, and then you could sell those maps to other players for like you got to go buy a good map or else you're gonna be SOL, or a good map at least on like a high detailed map on this area that the player made. Or the dungeon or whatever it is, so you guys can kind of
make cartographer be a role or a craft or whatever. That's great. I like it.
They're gonna have scribes, right? So I mean, it's not far off from.
No, it's not. Right? Yeah, I think that'd be a good mix. Something scribe cartographer type mixed crafting that you can kind of work, because it kind of has both elements of land and sea and writing notes and stuff. That would even be cool to like drop notes for players and send message in a bottles and stuff like that, and just witty stuff like that. That'd be fun.
That sounds real Sea of Thieves-ish. You need to play Sea of Thieves. I think you would love Sea of Thieves.
My brother-in-law told me about it, and I watched a little bit on it, but he's like, you need to play this game. You'll love it. So
I think you would.
Naval Combat We'll go into that next. The naval combat involves different types of ships with varying capabilities, armaments, and roles to play out on the high seas. There will be a balance and counterbalance between ships from PvP and PvE perspectives. Battles at sea will be epic. They will have some supreme rewards and or losses if the battle succeeds or fails. Naval PvP, operators of a ship's weapons platform can initiate naval PvP against another ship in the following 3 cases. The result of events such as guild wars or a guild node between the parties, when a ship moves into an area that automatically flags them. So say it's like a no man's land type of waters or whatever, you know? Yeah. And then as a result of open world PvP, and then this is where the flagging system comes in with corruption and stuff like that. And Steven was saying this on the last dev stream where he was talking about like how like who's going to get corrupted and who's not, but it's actually like the gunner firing the cannon to hit whoever will get the corruption. And then I don't know if the whole boat will then get it, because I feel like if everybody's kind of fighting something, they all should get it, you know? But
like a shared corruption?
Not a shared corruption, because like how's the driver going to get corruption, you know, if he's just driving? Unless he rams a ship, you know, I guess that's like, or the spotter or something like that, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. A way to troll people is to make them become corrupted because you're piloting the ship or something. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how they're going to deal with that, how they handle that.
Yeah, but I think it's just based on who actually fires the shot will get the corrupted. And that's if they don't fire back, obviously. What's your take on Intrepid's plan for ship combat? Does this entice you to participate? No?
No.
After the combat, you still don't want to play it? Man, that's sad. I thought you guys would be all about this.
Wait, I didn't say no.
You'll play, you'll do it?
I mean, I never said that I wasn't going to do it. It's just not what I'm fired up about. Right?
Oh, okay.
But I mean, rewards, obviously. Mm-hmm. If the rewards are high, you know, I've always been a achievement style gamer or whatever. Like I want to go out and
well, that's what I mean. Stuff. If you want to get all the prime raids or the fastest raids of high end stuff, some of them are probably going to be on the water. So you're going to have to. You're going to have no choice. And if your Mariner class is shit, then you guys would probably get, you know.
Right. And so, yeah, I'm sure that I will participate some, and it is really cool. I think it's very interesting that they chose to describe the battles as epic without giving any context into what that means.
Like, I just think, like, you know how sieges are going to be epic? I just feel that it's going to be like, you know, you got 2 teams and then this third team comes in and then these guys come in and then it's just a big clusterfuck, and then whoever, you know, finishes and can salvage the wreckage, you know, at the end.
15 ship fights.
Yeah, 50.
Easy.
Yeah. Like you said about the gallons, dude. Or imagine like 5 big ass ships coming at you, you know, and you're in like an armada, and then that'd be really interesting.
So when I think about epic ship battles in video games, you know, there's been several that have attempted the ship battle thing, and plenty of them have done it successfully or made it more, you know, fun or whatever. But the most epic to me was Atlas before you get like really strong cannons and all that stuff. Because at a certain point you get yourself built up to where you just like wade into the middle of a bunch of ships and just fire off broadsides and just waste everybody. But before that happens, like you might be in ship combat with you driving the ship, a lieutenant who's your buddy, who's like letting you know who's behind you and who's in front of you because you're trying to drive the ship. And so he's relaying all that information to you, and 2 or 3 guys downstairs running around repairing the ship as rapidly as they can. That lasts for like 20-25 minutes for one ship battle. And so that was epic. Cause I mean, and of course in that game, whenever whenever a cannonball hits the ship, you know, you see splinters go flying everywhere and like
holes in the ship and all that.
Right, all that stuff. So that's what I think of as epic. And so if they're able to pull that off and make it where these, like, it's almost like the slow pace of it makes it epic.
Right.
Because you're in the middle of this like struggle. You're locked in a struggle with another person, and it's not like they're gonna just tear you up in 10 seconds like in most PvP video games, or you're gonna tear them up in 10 seconds. Y'all are gonna be battling it out for 20 minutes, and the people who make the most number of correct decisions consecutively over across that 20 minutes is going to be the ones who come out ahead or whatever. Like that sounds epic to me. And then if they pull that off, yeah, I'll probably be on the seas all the time.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's all about timed attacks and where to strike and getting away, because escape's going to be a big thing too. You know, how fast your ship is, because you gotta sometimes just fly or flight, man. So
he who flies away.
Yeah. So you are going to definitely have to think about that when it comes to battling. But getting into the battling, and I think that this is where a difference is on the weapons, on the ship weapons. Weaponry such as potion launchers, siege weapons, and other weapons used in naval combat are based on the arcane arts. The elements, so like evocation magic, you'll get some of that, and the use of like radiance and darkness magic too. And this is where Steven goes on to just kind of explain it a little bit more of why they're kind of separating themselves from gunpowder versus like magic based weaponry. And like you said, like when you were talking about Atlas is cannonballs and pirating. Mm-hmm. This is where it kind of isn't pirating, and it's not cannonballs, and it doesn't take on the feel as much, is because the equipment's different, right? But he said, he goes on to say, as we said in the past, we are not really about that black powder life. Instead, it's really going to be focused on the arcane arts, the elements, the use of radiance and darkness, and then those being employed in larger weaponry, such as a type of siege weaponry between ship battles, as well as those and sieges. A potion launcher is an example of an arcane energies that can be mastered in order to facilitate these highly destructive alchemical blends that can be created. So that right there just makes me think like the potion users or the potion guys that actually load the cannons up or whatever they're going to be shooting. I wonder if like that crafting part of it, the alchemy, that's what I meant. Alchemy is going to play a big important thing into ships too, because it might be the ammo, so. Dude. It's probably the ammo, you know. So
so you fire like poison or essentially Molotov cocktails, a fire based. It hits and fire spread or whatever. That's pretty interesting. It's a little bit different because I immediately go.
Do you like the approach though? Like.
Sure, why not?
I mean,
it'd be different.
Yeah, it is a lot different, and I think it fits the narrative of the theme in Cannonballs and stuff like that. So I do like that.
You like your boat is going to need to be made from more than just standard wood that you cut down in the forest in order for that to make some kind of sense. Like it's going to need to be enchanted wood or, what, I don't know what you want to call it, but if it's literally, I go into the forest and I chop down an oak tree and I go make a ship and then somebody fires magical bolts at it that catches the whole thing on fire and somehow I win the fight, I'm going to be like, that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
So we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, and I don't know like how the use of shields is going to work within it. So I don't know if you're going to have to be able to like kind of have that magical protection over your vessel and stuff like that.
A bubble.
Yeah, a big old bubble rolling around, or it just like maps the ship. It's not like super annoying or anything. You just see like a giant bubble floating across. You're just like, oh, seriously. So hijacking ships in this game is a thing. Certain ships can be hijacked. Naval caravans cannot be hijacked. The cargo on a trade ship will be similar to caravans in that the ship must be destroyed in order to capture the loot from its wreckage. So my question for you guys is, in terms of hijacking ships, what different possibilities does this mean for guilds and players to take advantage of? Espionage, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, espionage for sure. I mean, that's just hijacking ships. So, like,
I think that defines espionage for sure. Or like,
definitely.
when I was writing this, I was thinking like, what if a guild like hijacked a ship, or hijacked someone else's ship, like of their node's guild or whatever, and they took their ship back to their guild node, and then like, I don't know what they could do there, but that'd be cool if they can like infiltrate it or steal something, or it's a part of a guild war, you know? It's like the Trojan horse or something, or someone you're trying to get in. And
I wonder if you'll be able to like hide on a ship. Like when it's in dock getting ready to leave to go to, you know, on its caravan run or whatever, can you hide inside of the ship, and then when they're in the middle of combat, you know, somehow go and sabotage the ship, you know, go kill the helmsman or something while he's in the middle of trying to control the boat or something. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but it just seems like it'd be a fun way to do it.
That's like Sea of Thieves, I'm pretty sure, right? You can do all that and hijack and take their loot and what chests and what.
Well, you could definitely take their loot and stuff, but I don't think you could hide on the ship. The ship's not big enough. It doesn't have enough places to hide. That's what I'm curious about is you know, is there going to be a situation where you can like legitimately hide on the ship? Is going to be
that'd be cool enough. Like you hide in a barrel or something like that, or just hide behind some barrels,
right? But if you know, if nameplates are going to be a thing, then it's hard. You can't really have hiding because people can just see your nameplate,
right? Yeah, they just see it through the wall or something.
That whole stealth process though, like I'm really wondering like how that's going to work, because that's a perfect opportunity to be assassin just sitting there. You know, I mean, yeah, we're going to have nameplates, but they haven't really divulged too much information.
If you're stealth, your nameplate should go away.
I think so.
Yeah.
Right.
I think so.
Yeah.
It probably will, and you'll just be like a little blur. So maybe you just stand there.
You imagine,
you won't even know.
Like you sneak onto some big galleon or something, and you know that your crew is out there ready to jump that galleon, and then as the battle goes, and like you literally sneak stealth up behind the helmsman and stab him. You know, and kill
or the navigator or the
chaos
pilot or the captain.
The guy who's steering the ship.
Yeah.
And so then they're like desperately trying to get somebody to come over and cover the wheel, and then of course the guy who covered the wheel, now you got to cover his spot, and like all this chaos is happening. Meanwhile, you got 3 cruisers just
coming in and they're surrounded. Dude,
that's cool stuff.
That's like peak performance with ships, dude. I would love to see that shit, man.
Even if you like get a small band of stealthy folks, like 2 or 3, just to really, really hurt them.
Yeah, like something.
They got 2 or 3 key people.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, man, I really want like stealing to be a thing in this game too. So I mean, I would love to see that, and then you got to worry about people on your ship. But I think that's what makes it epic. Like what you were saying before, this is what would make it fucking so epic, even though it's not that big in scale, just the stories that are playing out in real time are just like so fucking cool. All right. So we'll go on to, so we only have a little bit left. Ship destructibility. So after looking at all these ships that we're talking about, they get damaged, right? Dynamic destructibility of ships is under consideration. So this is like, as you're shooting or whatever you're throwing at, the ship's like crumbling and falling apart and breaking apart. But Steven goes in to say, I mean, traditionally, if we do not use that dynamic destruction system, we would use decals to simulate the damage, like of varying types of grades of how much damage is on the ship based on the hit point value. But at a certain point, hit points would swap out the mesh to show more of a destructive state potentially. This adds to the immersion factor.
That changes, and I know this again from playing Atlas. This is a very Atlas
my bad
themed episode. So in Atlas, the NPC enemy ships do not have what you would call destructibility. They have a hit point bar, and when the hit point bar is gone, they sink, and they are at maximum capacity, maximum offensive and defensive ability until the bar reaches 0%.
Right.
Whereas in PvP, because your ship, it doesn't work that way. You can take out, if you hit the same side over and over again, you're going to take out the armor on that side of the ship.
Right.
And so, like, if they don't have dynamic destructibility, that really, really changes the entire nature of how you go about trying to even
strategically
play the game.
Right. Yeah.
The strategic, it lowers the strategic, the need for strategy a lot of notches, like a lot, because you're no
really
longer
dumbs it down.
Yeah,
it dumbs it down big time.
Dulls it for sure.
So I really hope that they're able to get the dynamic in there, because I can tell you from playing Atlas that it was far less interesting to go against NPCs than against real players, because when you're going against real players, you were trying to knock out their sails or take out the armor on one side or take out the rudder or whatever. But against the NPCs, you just hit them with cannons until they die, and that's it.
Yeah.
You have my permission to move on now.
No. Oh yeah, there you go. Honestly though, like, what do you think they're gonna do though? Because I could see them kind of going both routes. You know, like if they don't have time, then they're gonna just do the simulations decals, and I really don't want that at all. Like,
I don't either.
Like, I don't even want it to change, like what you said between PvE and PvP. That should just be the system. You know, it shouldn't differ or anything. You know, it shouldn't make it less interesting or more interesting. It is what it is, you know, across the waters. And depending on whoever you're fighting, raid bosses, player characters. So so I definitely think that it needs to be in there to add to the immersion more. And strategic, like you said, just everything goes into it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. If they don't have that, it will be a disappointment. There's no question. We'll see what they're able to do. I know that's hard to pull off.
It is. Yeah, it is. But that's what I mean. Like, is it realistic time framing, you know, to have that whole system? Cause that's a lot, and ships are big.
Okay. I have no idea.
They're good, man. Honestly, I think.
I mean, honestly, with the amount that they're doing now, I don't think it's going to be that much harder, because you have games out there of lesser quality that have that in them, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that far off.
Yeah, I mean, destructibility can be pretty easy, you know? You can blow up stuff pretty easy, you know? Especially with all the software and stuff that they got out now. So we'll go into the next topic real quick. Ship repairing. Ships will be repaired, but it will be a lengthier process, more so than any other games that have this system. Once repaired, ships can only be launched from land. So, it's going to be interesting too, because like it doesn't seem like you're going to be able to repair your ship on the water unless it's totally destroyed. Well, unless it's totally destroyed, I think that's where they get it. Like, you can patch it maybe while you're playing, but when it's destroyed, you have to be on land or at the harbor to actually.
When it's destroyed, it should be at the bottom of the ocean, and you should never see it again.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know honestly on how it's going to work, but what would you guys like to see?
You mentioned in the Mariner classes, one of them was a
ship repair,
but that doesn't necessarily mean. That doesn't necessarily mean on the water. It could just be the repairman on the dock.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, even if you're taking a bunch of hits and like you guys are like maybe 25% left, you got to fucking run, dude. And you're probably not going to be fast because your movement speed's going to be down, depending on like your ship and all that. But so I think it's going to be pretty hard to get away. But honestly, I would like them to add repairing on the ship, you know? Patching up holes. It might not be like you can't get it to 100%, but you could just get a little bit of health back and integrate it back into it. Yeah. So.
Right. And it's almost like if they add dynamic damage, which, you know, we all say that they should, you almost have to add that, because that means you're going to be knocking out, you know, like knocking holes in the side of the ship and stuff. We got to be able to patch that hole, or it doesn't make sense. You're taking on water, and this, you know, the ship should sink. Boy, that's hard to say fast.
Ship should sink. Yeah. Yeah.
It should sink. You know, if you have a giant hole that you can't patch because it's not put in the game or whatever. Yeah. So I would think they'd have to add that if they add the other, and that may be one of the reasons why they're not adding it, is because you know, as soon as you add that dynamic damage, you start adding numerous different, what do you call them? You know, not choices, but different things get added immediately.
Right.
It's escaping me.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even with like if your sail catches on fire, you know, you could put it out or just put up a new sail actually on the water. You know, that'd be pretty cool. But I don't know if it's realistic.
And that's what they did.
Yeah,
that's what they did. You know, a pirate ship would have 2 or 3
double
new sails.
Yeah.
You know, and down there, and then you know, you'd go and put the sail up if you had to, if that, if you took that much damage or whatever. So hopefully you can repair the ship to some degree out on the water, but I guess you can't get everything you want.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it says too, like ships can only be launched from land. So once they're repaired, it's interesting. So we'll go into the next topic, naval content. So this is the last one, but we're just going to cover the very topics of naval content and talk about them. Naval content refers to the content above and below the sea, aquatic mounts, coastal nodes, fortresses, harbors, island chains, naval caravans, naval NPCs, PvP objectives, quests, raids, ships, trade routes, treasure hunting, and underwater dungeons. So
that seems like a whole nother game.
I know, dude. That's literally Sea of Thieves.
It seems like a whole nother game.
Besides underwater dungeons, maybe they even have that. But that's what you're going to be missing if you don't do naval combat. That's all the stuff that's going to be, ships. That's all the stuff that you're going to be able to kind of go after and play with, But when it comes to the naval content, how do you guys feel this will transform the, like we were saying last week,
It's a whole nother game. Really, it is, because they're introducing a couple of different games and they're meshing them together. That's what they're doing. And there's going to be, I honestly think there's going to be so much content. People aren't going to know what to choose, to be honest. There's going to be so many things you could do. One, you'll never really run out of anything, but you're going to be able to immerse yourself in damn near anything you want to do.
Do you think it's a little overwhelming though?
Yes, definitely.
Especially a player doesn't know shit about the game and they come in and then they realize how much shit's in this game and then they're just like, whoa, but
yeah, I have friends that are, becoming mildly interested in this game because I'm making all the YouTube videos about it. And of course they're watching them to support me. And it's funny to watch them. It's funny to watch them comment and be like, oh my God, I'm exhausted just hearing you talk about like how much shit is in this game. And I'm like, I just covered one topic. That was just the classes, bro.
I know.
The notes
you can literally
26 times more complicated than that.
You can literally say anything and be like, oh yeah, it's in this game. Oh yeah, we have a session for that.
Yes. And so one of my concerns, and it's one of the videos I did was went into this just a little bit, but one of my concerns about this game is simply it being so complex that the just average player who sees it on Steam and is like, oh, well, I guess I'll just pick this up because it looks cool, will get in and be like, no, this is way too much, and move on. And if that happens, do you end up with this like hyper niche game that has, even a good number, 20 or 30,000 people, but that's it.
Yeah.
And anybody new that comes in is so overwhelmed and so behind, they look up and they see everything everybody else has, and they start trying to figure out, how could I even just get one of those things? And you'd have to, write a doctoral dissertation about how just to get that one thing. And they're like, no, to hell with that. I'm going to go back to playing Minecraft. It's simple.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think if the on-ramping program is good, they can make it work, at least to getting the basics down, and everything else will just be kind of discovery at that point,
Right.
I think it's a good thing, though. I really do, because they're casting such a wide net of interests, of different types of games that are out there, and implementing a new system, and kind of giving us MMO players what we've been asking for forever.
Right.
I mean, it's something that it's a big undertaking, and it may be a lot, it may be complicated at first, and it may take a pretty decent time for the community and everyone to kind of really understand what is fully going on, but that just makes it better and easier for us to come together and rely on one another and create that real MMO traditional experience that we all love and miss,
Yeah. Right.
That's 100%, man.
And it's funny to watch a little bit younger people saying what you guys are saying, who haven't been doing this MMO thing since the mid 90s like I have. So you
I
guys may
started
not
later.
realize, so you guys may not realize this, but almost Ashes of Creation basically already existed. It was already a thing. This game, I've played this game,
right?
But almost everything that's in Ashes of Creation, not every last bit of it, but almost, and with the complexity and all that stuff. And it was called Ultima Online way back in the day. And back then, Ultima now has 2 worlds. Like every shard or every server is 2 exact copies of the same world. And on one of them, PvP is allowed, and on the other one, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But before they did that, there was only the PvP world. Everybody, no matter if you were playing Ultima Online, you could be ganked by anybody and lose your stuff anywhere in the world. And it created a lot of the same stuff, all the political intrigue we talk about, like all of the stuff that we talk about with Ashes. It existed. It was a thing. People played it. I know people who, I'm not kidding, I know people who bought the game, paid $50, $60 for the game, paid their $15 subscription fee to log into the game, logged into the game, messed around in the city for 5 minutes, walked outside of the city, got ganked by somebody and killed and lost all their stuff, and then uninstalled the game and never played it again. And I'm not kidding. And I know multiple people that were in that realm. And so what happened was the game was thriving. It had, let's say 50,000 like really dedicated players, people who played all the time. They were hardcore into it, and the world was vibrant and alive, and it was ever changing, and things were going up and down, and it was great. And then the complaints started coming in about how getting ganked and all that. And so that's when they came in and they said, well, we're going to do this with the Trammel-Felucca split. Trammel is a PvE world and Felucca is a PvP world, and you can pick which one you want to be on. You can bounce back and forth, but you can pick.
Right.
And as soon as they did that, everybody, all these people who are now saying we wish we had a game like Ashes of Creation, what did they do? They moved to Trammel and lived there permanently and never went to Felucca, ever. And I'm a little bit concerned about that. Mm-hmm. That is that, like, we all say that this is what we want, but it's like with the last time we were given it, we all complained until they gave us an easier version of it. Now, could it be a situation where the genre has been around for so much longer, and the idea PvP, the whole concept of PvP or versus in a video game was relatively new, because we're talking about a long time ago. So people have been playing Call of Duty and dying 50 times a match and stuff for 15 years now. So maybe the mentality is different, but there's a part of me that's concerned that people are going to be like, I know people that are fired up about the game, but they've told me, like, if I build my node up to level 4 and I go to bed and I wake up the next day and my node is level 1 or 0, I don't know if I can handle it. I think I'm just going to uninstall and leave.
Oh, man.
That's a valid point. That's a valid point.
That's such a touchy topic too.
But at the same time, I guess that's where the community aspect comes into play. And that's where, getting to know people and reaching out, and I guess really not.
A lot of players don't like to do that, though. That's the thing.
It's
right.
I realize that.
A lot of them don't. So what I think happens is we're going to go down to one of 2 roads, and I've kind of like relegated myself to this. Like, okay, one of these 2 things is going to happen. Either the game is going to be a relatively niche game. Like, it'll be popular at first because everybody's talking about Ashes of Creation, but people are going to get in there and be like, to hell with this. I'm not losing my sword every time I die. To hell with that. And they're
you wouldn't lose your sword. You just lose resources.
I know. Both. You lose resources. I understand it, but I'm being,
yeah. I think the corruption though is
it changes things. Yes, it does. But either way, people are going to be upset with the difficulty, the complexity, the fact that you can just be ganked at any time, the fact that there's going to be people who that's all they live to do is just run around and gank people and all that, and they're going to leave, and you're going to have just like Ultima Online before the split, a very vibrant game, an ever-changing game where things are going, guilds are rising and falling because of the the conflict that's going on all the time and all this stuff going on, and that's what it'll be. Or the complaints will get so loud that Intrepid does some facsimile of what Ultima Online did, and you get a watered down version of what we're all talking about, and then it's a game that kind of falls into the dustbin of history. So I'm hoping it's more the first one, obviously, and I would rather be playing the game with 50,000 people who are like-minded and like want to deal with the struggle and everything that comes with it than just another. It's Black Desert Online. If they don't change it, it's going to be Black Desert Online.
Right.
A niche game that nobody plays.
Right. Yeah. We'll have to see, honestly, but there's just so much that has to play out for us to actually see it, and it's all on paper. So we don't really know how it's really going to be, but I mean, from examples from the past, it wasn't good. I really hope that they don't separate that and they just stick with it, because there's so many different systems that are riding on an open world PvP system. So like you're kind of crippling 25% of the game easily,
Yes, that was my very first YouTube video I ever made was top 5 reasons that Ashes of Creation could fail, and the number one reason, the way I labeled it, was listening to the extremely loud but overwhelming minority, but it was basically what you're saying is
stop killing me.
Yes, if you listen to those people and you warp the DNA of the game, which the game is being built with a PvP DNA, and you warp that DNA of the game to appease those people, you're going to get what you're talking about. Yeah. So
that's what WoW did, and that's what fucked them.
Yes.
With the end game.
So I'm really hoping that Steven and the folks over at Intrepid are just like, cry more, noob. Like, I
hope they, dude. Honestly, I hope they
cry more.
I know.
That's great.
Honestly, I hope that's what they say. But we'll go ahead and wrap up. Do you guys have any last thoughts or discussions or anything? Any likes, dislikes that you want ships to be implemented or how they want to be implemented?
I don't have anything on chips. I do want to say,
yeah, go.
Come watch me stream Ashes of Creation next Friday, man, the 14th. It's Zillin_live over on Twitch. Come on. He's going to put it in the description.
Yeah, I'll put it down there.
Comment, whatever. Put it down there. Come
drop
on
by. I'll drop on by.
Yeah. Come on by.
Yeah, we'll come on.
We're gonna laugh. We're gonna joke. We're gonna meme. If you guys have Alpha 1, you can come jump in stream with me and play. Like, let's do it.
I'm gonna be playing with them too, so it'll be fun.
There you go. Perfect.
So you guys will see me on there. But yeah, if you guys don't have anything else, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you guys for coming again to the show, Project Creation, and we will catch you later. See ya.
Bye, y'all.